Well, good evening. My name is Stephen, and for many of you on the Facework Ukraine program, you've seen me every week when you've been coming to Hatcham House. This is the first time in nearly four courses where we've trained over 170 people, I think, that I haven't been with you in person. But Helena, who runs the project, has asked me to run this session on soft skills. So you've got a recording of me today, and I'm sorry I can't be with you. Um, I'm going to share my screen because I've obviously been asked to talk about soft skills and the importance of soft skills as you look at work here in the UK. As you know, Facework is all about helping people to face work, face all the changes in the workplace. We run workspaces, and I know that you're able to come to Hatcham House on Thursdays, very much to have a social space, a space to learn from each other, and also a place where you can grow and feel safe and secure. Um, I suppose this is one of a range of the courses that we've run this month, and as well as looking at career mapping and CV writing and introducing you to employers. This session on soft skills in the past has been very helpful for people. I remember Anna, one of our first Ukraine participants, said we have this here in Ukraine. We know that many Ukrainians don't do small talk. This is fascinating. People say to us, why do English people talk about the weather? It's partly a proxy for just communicating, for getting to know people, for making connections. And these things about connections and working in teams and being more enterprising and self-managing and problem solving and communicating, all these soft skills are really important. So I hope this session will be really useful. One of the things we always say at the Facework Ukraine programs is if your English language isn't up to advanced level, please don't worry. Other people can help you translate, and a lot of the content on this slide we've translated to Ukrainian. I hope sometimes translate isn't very good, but has done a great job at making some of these slides multilingual. So help each other, and coming together at Facework is that it's not a lecture. We really believe in a kind of pedagogy, like the way people learn is through practice, through activity-based learning, through helping each other, supporting each other. So in a lecture, and at different times in this talk, I've put pause so that you can actually interact with each other. And I've got you some exercises. And even today, you've been set out in tables because a lot of the talks people can just sit in a chair, but I want you to get your pens out, to get your mobile phones out. I've got some QR codes for some activities, and Helena will pass around some of the sheets that we've done. In fact, the sheets that we've done are based in this book called Soft Skills for the Changing World of Work, and we've translated it into Ukrainian. And right now, Oksana, I don't know if you're going to watch this sometime, Oksana, but Oksana is in the universities in Ukraine. I've been to Lviv 3 times since we started this program. We ran a program last summer in Lviv with young people and teachers, helping them to understand the importance of soft skills. And we hope that this book, which is being field tested with students in Ukraine at the moment, will be useful and a wonderful legacy of this time that we've worked together for the last 2 years here in London. What I want in this session to do is 5 areas, and I've tried to color code them and have put them in sections and families, and we'll pause after each one. The first section is just helping us to rethink what we know. One of the challenges is when you come to a new country, everything is new. And then sometimes you're challenged by saying, well, I didn't think that back home. Sometimes I have to stop thinking in the same way that I did before. We use this phrase by Alvin Toffler that the literate person of the 21st century is someone who can learn, unlearn, and relearn. It's obvious when you think about it, but so often we just think we know what we know. And one of the challenging things about coming into a new culture, learning a new language, learning how the Brits work, trying to find a job in Britain, is that you're always surprised. Why do they do that? Why is English so complicated? Why is some of these themes within British culture so strange? We understand that, but I want you to really just make sure that as part of your learning, you rethink what you already know. That leads into the importance of soft skills because lots of people say to me, "Well, soft skills are so obvious, Steve. We know what soft skills are. We can communicate, we can talk, we can work in teams. Why do you have to be so intentional in explaining them?" Well, this is the whole point. I don't think we are. I don't think in secondary schools we prepare young people for a changing world of work. We used to say you can have a job for life. Now you can't have a job for life. What you've got to have is many jobs in your life. And soft skills and transferable skills and mindset, growth mindset, will help you navigate that. So I really think that soft skills are the superpower. They really are the skills that we need you to learn and grow and support and celebrate as you go into the world of work. And I'll tell you why, particularly for refugees and migrants and those who've come to a new country, soft skills are so important. Part of the soft skills framework at Facework is around five families: self-management, teamwork, enterprise, problem solving, speaking, listening. It's quite nice because it stands for steps: self-management, teamwork, enterprise, problem solving, speaking, listening. So for tonight's talk, I wanted to do one session on self-management. That's about understanding ourselves. And it's so challenging. We're adults, we're not children anymore. We think we know we are how we are. But one of the great things about looking at soft skills is understanding your personality, understanding your character. And we've got a couple of little psychometric tests, which is in uni and in English for you to do tonight. And I think that will help you. You can tell that I am an extrovert. I get my energy from people. I love doing things. My partner is an introvert. We are perfectly complementary. But this is not about who's extrovert and who's introvert, but understanding what is your character? How do you play to your strengths? How do you feel relaxed in a work context based on who you are as an individual? And I hope that you'll find that helpful. And the family that we're going to look at is growing your teamwork skills. And we know that every single job in the country requires some element of teamwork. Even if you work for yourself, you'll be working with customers and suppliers and partners. You'll be working with IT developers. You'll be working with people who help you promote your business. So teamwork is really, really important. And in this particular context, I'm going to major on the issue of diversity. And that's because in the UK context, which may be different from Ukraine, I really want to be very humble and careful that I don't make assumptions. And I certainly don't think that Britain's got it all right. But as you know from London, London is one of the most diverse cities in the world. Something like 97 different languages or 97 nationalities in London. And we have to really think about how, when you're going into the workplace in the UK, what are the diversity and equal opportunities questions? So I really hope we're going to hopefully find something useful in terms of the broader soft skills, but something specific today to help you think about how you'd answer a question on diversity or equal opportunities. And the great news is that next week we're doing a proper session just about your rights in the workplace. So this may be an overlap and a welcome for that. The five families of projects we're going to look at tonight, and you'll see the color coded so that even though I'm speaking on the phone and not there in person, you can actually go back and look at these sections. Where's that section about soft skills? It's in the red section. That section on teamwork in the green, etc. So let's dive straight in. Let's try to help us think about what we know. I love these quotes. Some of them are from very famous academics. Doris Lessing. John Cleese was a very famous UK comedian, and he says that he who laughs most learns best. And I always say when we talk at Facework Ukraine is that what you learn with pleasure, you never forget. So although this is a video that I'm talking to you, just have some fun tonight. Talk, laugh, question each other, because this is not boring. This is so fascinating when you start thinking about all the things about soft skills. The good news is that when you learn them in the workplace, you also learn them in your personal life. And if you understand how good you get at communicating, how good you get at problem solving, how good you get at working in teams, it improves our life. One of the lovely quotes here is what Doris Lessing says, and I have got the quote there from Ukrainian Correct. She says, "What is learning? It's you when you suddenly understand something you've always understood all your life, but in a new way." Isn't that lovely? And I want you to think of things in a new way tonight, because that is the sign of growth. And we never stop learning, and lifetime learning is really important. And some of the times I've talked to refugees or people who've come to this country, they say, do you know, it threw me into a new environment where I just had to start from the beginning, learn new things about myself, learn things about culture, learn what I want to do in work. You know, so often we went into work because of our parental expectation, or because we started a degree and had to carry on with that theme, that area of work. I know that others say that, you know, if you love what you do, you'll never do a day's work in your life. And that is a little bit corny. And I don't quite agree with it, because many people have to work just for pure survival. But the point is, we're old enough now to think, what do we really enjoy doing? How do we sustain our work for the next few years? So that's an important aspect of this. So I want you to think about what you know. This is linked very much to our ethos at Facework. We always say that we learn in an environment where we feel safe. We learn with an environment where you feel valued. And this is really important. It's hard enough being a refugee in a new country. You always get a bit of kickback. People feel different about coming into a new space, lots of tensions. We have a trauma-informed practice here, because we know that a lot of the situations and experiences you've been through have been awful. But we do want you to think about not what we say, but how you feel, and how you feel in terms of safety and growth. And you are a group together. And I really want Facework to be able to support you as a group, helping each other, what we call peer career support. That's why we structure these sessions with a lot of social element around the bar at the end of the day. And you begin to find new ways, finding new work opportunities often comes from other people who hear about things. So whether you're new today to listen to this lecture, or you're somebody old, really remember that you've got to find a space that supports you and encourages you. Don't go to a place where you feel isolated and excluded. In fact, this whole subject of diversity in the workplace is absolutely relevant today, as new people come into London and feel accepted, not just in the workplace, but in society. And we know that the reason why we bring volunteers to Facework group every Thursday from the UK local community is that integration is really important. The second thing is really important. There's a lovely phrase here by Jamie Gapser, who was a Google education evangelist. I love that phrase. Have never heard of somebody in a workplace being called an education evangelist, but I'm an education evangelist. I really believe in the power of education, helping people to think new things, grow, develop their mind, lifetime learning. And they say, and I say the same to you, don't ask you what you want to do, but ask you what do you want to solve? What are the problems you want to address? Because this changes the conversation from who do I want to work for to what do I need to learn to be able to do that. Interesting. And if you've got young people, that's a really important question to ask them as they think about what they want to do. Young people are saturated by choice, but actually there's not the confidence or not the security in getting a job for life anymore. So these are good questions. And I ask the same thing to you. It may be that you want to do something new, and therefore you want to set up your own business. This is the holy grail, if you like. Sorry, that's a funny English phrase, but that's the challenge in the UK or anywhere of how do you help an enterprise culture? How do you build new businesses? So as you think about the workplace and what you want to do in the UK, yes, apply for another job for somebody else or for a company. But equally, I know lots of you are thinking about setting up your own um, businesses. And at Facework, we run a program called Changemakers, which is all about developing a social business, a social entrepreneurship. And if you want to do that, come and talk to us. So
Мені здається, Стівен розмовляв ніби сам з собою, і він значно швидше, ніж він тут в аудиторії. Сприймається важче, мабуть. Він дуже швидко, він намагається швидко все сказати. Про що йшла мова тут? Про те, що коли людина шукає свою роботу, особливо це релевантно для тих, хто хоче заснувати свій бізнес, питати не про тим, ким ти хочеш стати, а яку проблему хочеш вирішити. І тоді від цього запитання змінюється і відповідь, і ти починаєш розуміти, що потрібно вчити, чого потрібно навчитися, щоб бути спроможним вирішувати цю проблему. Тобто йти від проблеми, що ти хочеш вирішити і що для цього потрібно.
Just rethinking about what you want to do and why is part of this process. It sounds a bit of a luxury, but I would say if you don't have to work straight away, use this period to retrain, to think about your own personal development, to grow your confidence. And a lot of that comes through relationships. And if we can help you at that at Facework, we'd be delighted to. This is that quote that I used from Alvin Toffler. There it is, I think, in the Ukrainian version as well. And being away from home and away from what you're used to doing can be the birthplace of new thinking and new careers. I know it's challenging. I know many of you have told me how challenging it is coming to the UK and to other parts of Europe. But as you think about returning, maybe as you think about making a new life settled here, especially if you've got young children who are going to grow up in the schools here and become more and more used to the UK, this is an important thing for you to think about. How do you unlearn and relearn? And some of that is relearning how the Brits do things and the culture and the oddities of English language and the oddities of English culture. But it's also an opportunity for you to grow and bring what you've already got from your own culture into our culture. I use this phrase that people think we've got a brain drain after Brexit, but this is a brain gain. So many of you who come to the UK have such wonderful qualifications. I asked you to put your hands up at a lecture earlier where I said, how many of you got a second degree? And about a third of you got an MA or a PhD or a second degree. That's incredible, really educated workforce. And obviously I've told you many times that I think your work ethic, it's a generalization, we can't generalize, but many of you who've come to the Facework program have such wonderful work ethic. You know the importance of what employers are looking for in terms of reliability, of being punctual, of having an enterprise mindset. So well done. The other thing that I just wanted to recognize is that we know how people learn. And if you were just going to listen to me as a lecture, you'd probably retain about 5%. If I wasn't using visual aids, it'd be about 5%. As you begin to develop your learning practice with audio visual and then demonstrating and discussing and obviously practicing doing, you retain more. That's the signs on the right-hand side of this slide. And that's why at the end we say to people, teach once, learn twice. And that's why we encourage past students to come back to our courses. And I think that's on the feedback that we get every week. What people love is they've got to see it to be it. They're saying, I really love the fact that Anna from HR or Eugenia came back and did a session, because it gives them an understanding of what is possible and their journey. But also those people who then present to us sometimes say, oh, I'm not an expert. I don't understand everything. I said, well, try, because your experience is that you're growing yourself and it's authentic and it validates. And you only got to be a little bit better than somebody else to be an expert, I think.
Цей самий принцип, до речі, працює і з англійською мовою. Коли ви вчите англійську мову, ви вчили якесь правило, краще комусь переказати і когось навчити. Тоді ти вчиш двічі, тричі, і воно краще відкладається. Тому це правило працює навіть в англійській.
I mean, I'm sure somebody will disagree with me, but this whole idea of being at the top of the tree, don't fool yourself. Just giving a little bit of advice and information from your experience can make a huge difference. And so I want you to really rethink about how and where you're learning. Get learning in the workplace. That's why we say that for many people, doing an internship, volunteering, just coming in as an apprentice, these tasks and these jobs are really, really important. not only to earn money, but to learn, to grow, to understand. And by practicing and by discussing today, and obviously by teaching other people what you've heard from today, I think you'll grow your confidence and learn and become empowered. As Benjamin Franklin
А хтось, давайте запитання на перевірка. Запам'ятали, які різні види навчання? Сьогодні тільки що була пірамідка. Способи навчання. Канали як?
Лекція, читання.
Це аудіо рід.
Аудіалізація йшла пізніше.
Ага, так, добре.
Демонстрація, дискусія.
Проговорити.
Ну і teaching. Ну і вчити. Practicing.
Окей, якщо я зараз спробую повернути трошечки назад. Ні, не вийде. Там була просто є кінестичне навчання, коли ти на практиці тобі треба пощупати, помацати аудіо, коли ти бачиш і інформацію сприймаєш через зоровий канал, аудіальний, коли говориш. Так, і вербальний. То всі ми по-різному навчаємось. Ось більш, наприклад, для мене аудіальний дуже важко йде. Мені треба бачити цю інформацію. Так само я і вчу англійську навіть. Мені треба записати, рука запам'ятає, я побачу, і мені це легше. На слух дуже важко.
Said, tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. And again, that's what we see in young people when they're particularly learning. That's why technology is such a powerful tool, as it's very personalized. They're lean forward. We would lean back. We were just listening passively to our teachers. These young people are leaning forward. They're getting involved. They're making contributions. This is all very powerful stuff. And it's no wonder that Benjamin Franklin is the face of the name of the $100 bill in America. And finally, just think about what we do learn, especially within soft skills. This debate about is it taught or is it caught is fascinating. Most children, if they're given responsibility, become responsible. So most of the qualities of being self-managing and working with people come from modeling it. But equally, you do learn about teamwork when you play sport. You learn when you ask questions. That's the thing that I've said so many times to you. Ask powerful questions. Don't just listen to answers. Think about what are the questions you want to learn.
Де ми вчимося роботі в команді? Це ж не тільки прийшли на тімбілдингу тренінг. Це відбувається в житті постійно. Переважно наші діти, ми віддаємо, коли треба, щоб спрацювався в команді якісь командні види спорту, футбол або тому що теніс там вже не так, не відчуваєш партнерів.
When you support a friend, when you're overcoming a problem, when you're working with children, when you're working with elders. My mother is 96. Every time I see her every week, I'm learning something about the importance of caring, of listening, of being more empathetic, of being resilient, because it's sometimes hard work. So again, especially if you've got children, just validate where they're learning. Of course, schools are a formal part of learning, but some of the informal aspects of learning are really, really important, especially as we grow our character strengths and our soft skills and our qualities. So there we are. That was the first section on just helping you to think about where you learn, think about how you learn, think about unlearning, think about what you want to do rather than what job you want to be in, and think a little bit about the quality and the relationships of each other and how you feel safe and supportive to other people. That's part of our ethos at Facework. So, okay, so far, strap in. We're going to jump into the second section, which is really looking at the importance of soft skills. Why is this so important? Well, I believe that skills may get you the job, but soft skills will supercharge your career. Hard skills, you know what hard skills are. They're usually the skills that can be taught and examined and proved. And no one's decrying the fact that those aren't important. I would really want to go to a doctor who's done his hard skills, or a dentist who's done 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years of practice and understanding the theory of good dental hygiene. Absolutely. But if I go to a doctor and they're not kind, or if I go to a dentist who's rude, or if I go to a dentist who can't work with his receptionist or her receptionist, these are the things that do make a difference in terms of your career. So there's a lovely phrase that we've used, and they are like superpowers. Have you ever thought about that? Soft skills are your superpowers. And again, working with children and young people, that's a lovely way of saying, with great power comes great responsibility. That's Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's uncle said to Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And these superpowers of soft skills can supercharge your career. And why is that so relevant?
Хтось може перекласти мені ту фразу hard skills can get you a job and soft skills can charge your career. Так.
Особисті навички дадуть тобі можливість зростати в твоїй кар'єрі, так?
Так, абсолютно вірно. Бо чи зможеш ти розвиватися в компанії, залежить, як ти будеш комунікувати з оточуючими. Чи зможеш ти пояснити свою ідею, презентувати, відстояти, бути асертивним. Дуже багато особистісних навичок впливають на розвиток кар'єри.
To new arrivals? Well, because hard skilled qualifications that you've got back in Ukraine are harder to validate. I mean, you can do it, it takes time, and you understand that sometimes the standards in the UK are different, lower or higher than the standards of academic brilliance in Ukraine. So recognizing that it may take you 3 years to do an additional qualification or to get your qualifications up to UK standards means that that's a disadvantage for you. So why don't we try and look at the soft skills that will compensate those hard skills? And indeed, soft skills will help you compensate for communicating in English language. If your English language isn't so good, then your body language is something that can compensate that. If your English language isn't really good in talking, you can still listen well and ask questions. So soft skills really help you in this transition. The third thing is that your character and your personality is so important to show. If you come across an employer who isn't particularly interested in appointing people from a different culture, just leave them alone. Just seriously, they are going to be problematic. Find people who will listen and see you as somebody who has got so much to offer. And yes, that's on your CV and your qualifications and your hard skills. But also, this gives you an opportunity to show your soft skills, especially as we've done in interview practice, to give examples of how you led a team or how you were more inclusive in the workplace, how you solved problems, how you communicated to people with a different language. These are really important, and this is what we call about soft skills. And their soft skills also often show your excellent work ethic. And I've said that to many of you before, that when I talk to many of you, I can just see that your work ethic is so strong. So I think particularly for people who come to the UK, soft skills are really important, and we can help you learn these skills, especially because the booklet that you've got today has been translated into Ukrainian, and the worksheets that I've got for you are in Ukraine.
Я вже роздала українські варіанти. І вас дуже попрошу, якщо ви маєте якісь зауваження по тексту, щось не звучить достатньо природньо на українській мові, будь ласка, скажіть мені, ми будемо вносити правки. Тому ви допоможете нам в перекладі цього буклету. Дякую.
Some of these things we're looking at together, what are soft skills? How do you describe these as superpowers? Where do you learn these skills? There are some important issues about cultural sensitivity, and that's why we're going to look at the diversity one, particularly in the teamwork family. And one of the things that we want you to think about is, how do you create good habits? Habits are the things that keep the learning relevant and make it sticky. Silly phrase, sticky. If you say, I've got to practice that habit of talking to somebody, or habit of being on time, or habit of being more empathetic, these are the things that make a difference. So hopefully on the right-hand side of this slide, you can see those words in Ukrainian. I suppose a definition is soft skills are the non-technical skills that affect how you work. They include how you collaborate with others. That's why teamwork is such an important soft skill. How flexible you are. Employers want people who can be flexible. How you solve problems. How you manage your work. And the great news about these skills is that they can be grown. Sometimes people find them hard because of their character or their personality, But generally, if you understand how important these soft skills are, you can practice and you can ask for feedback. You can say to somebody, do you think I'm a good listener? You know, you can ask to somebody, how would you describe my strengths in a team? There's a whole range of different parts of a team that you can look at in a different module we do, which is looking at different leaders and followers and plant and other people in a team. But these are things that you can grow, and hopefully that translation in Ukraine there gives you the same information. They really do make a difference in the workplace, and I think increasingly in an age where AI and machine learning are taking over jobs that can be automated. And I want to say to you that soft skills are really like human skills. They are the things that are going to differentiate us from other jobs. And sadly, a lot of the jobs that are quite menial and repetitive and automated are going to be taken over by machines. I say sadly because I feel that a lot of people who don't have a lot of hard skills go into those jobs. And there's a real issue there about how those people will have to retrain and grow their confidence and grow their skills in other areas to take on other parts of the jobs that will emerge after AI, machine learning, and driverless cars and all the other elements of the future.
Гарна новина в тому, що в нашій боротьбі з artificial intelligence все ж таки особистісні навички машина не може повторити. Ми тут перемагаємо за рахунок цього. І наші особистісні навички ми можемо розвивати. Практикуючись, навчаючись.
Here we are. This is just a good definition really between hard skills and soft skills.
Тут знову стара презентація. Тод і код. Допоможіть, будь ласка, перекласти. Знавці англійської мови. Так. Правильно переклад?
Спіймати.
Ну, тот це того, кого навчили, мабуть, навчений, грубо кажучи, навчений, да? Код, catch, код це спійманий, да. Взагалі правильно.
Ну, я б наполягаю, що тут має бути набуті. То навчені і набуті, тільки ти. Погоджуєтесь? Так, трошки лінгвістичної дискусії. Навчені, які шляхом навчання отримані, і ті, які набуті. Набуті через практику.
The key thing about hard skills, you master them after a period of study or apprenticeship. They often involve using your hands, making things. Even a foreign language is a hard skill. So you've got that already. You can already speak, many of you can speak really good English. And that's really important to recognize. You've got that hard skill. But the soft skills are then those things that complement those skills and help you grow your career. They're about being a good team player, being able to take initiative, showing empathy. And the other element of this, we might talk about this when we look at understanding ourselves, is the issue around neurodiversity. And I think that we know so much more about how young people think and behave, and us as adults as well. So just be really sensitive to that. If somebody doesn't look like they're a good team player or showing empathy, be other factors around neurodiversity to look at. I'm not an expert in that area, so I would never want to give you advice on that. But I think if you do recognize that you find yourself struggling or you have a child who struggles with some of those soft skills and elements, it's really important to get some advice about the neurodiversity that they may be exhibiting. One of the questions here, I think this word in Ukrainian is taught. Is it taught or is it caught? My point is that most soft skills are caught by modeling, seeing it, growing up in a family where you're given good models. But if it's not caught, then I think it can be taught. And that's what we're doing today. And I'm wanting to make sure that in Ukraine, particularly as we rebuild the country and return and rebuild, that some of these soft skills are given more prominence in the education curriculum. And that's why we're doing this bit of research with academics in Ukraine at the moment.
Тобто мова йде про те, що професійні навички, жорсткі, ті, які hard skills, ми не вчимося їм. Тобто це університет, це школа, це якісь курси, професійне навчання. А особистісні навички це ті, які ми набуваємо в нашій сім'ї, починаючи з нашої батьківської сім'ї, наше оточення, наші друзі, знайомі, те, що ми практикуємо і як ми розвиваємось. Так. Зараз.
Це навички, які були свідомо передані через навчання, викладання або тренування. Наприклад, читати, писати, грати на музичному інструменті. А наступне – це навички, які людина засвоює неформально або підсвідомо, зазвичай через спостереження або імітацію інших. Наприклад, соціальні навички, поведінка в колективі, звички, цінності.
Це те, що і є soft skills, особистісні. Дякую.
Ну, російською код – це получене. Я просто не знаю, як українською вважаю. Получене. Тобто пасив. Ну, розумієте, не ти їх навчаєш, а ти їх
Засвоєні.
If we had time today, and you could do this as an exercise if you're working this, is give yourself, say, 6 points, and looking at these 14 different qualities, being a good communicator, being reliable, able to take initiative, have drive and determination, plan and prioritize, all of those sort of things. What do you think would be your top 6?
Давайте визначимо тут топ ваших 6 навичок. Я можу повторити. Здатність працювати в команді, добре комунікувати з людьми, бути надійними, з'ясовувати факти та вирішувати проблеми, проявляти ініціативу, бути підприємним та готовим ризикувати, бути цілеспрямованим та рішучим, вміти розпоряджатися часом, планувати роботу та визначати пріоритети, бути гнучким та адаптуватися до мінливих ситуацій, здатність залишатися мотивованим і доводити справи до кінця, бути впевненим у своїх діях та завданнях, які виконуєте, визнавати свої помилки, здатність бути стресостійким і підтримувати своє психологічне здоров'я. Знайшли свої 6? Цієї немає, так? Немає. А все решта окей. Ну, я думаю, воно компенсує. Той невеличкий цю прогалину можна компенсувати рештою. Все окей у вас, Надія. О. Ще треба дати час? Добре, давайте тоді так. То вважає, що серед його топ-6 навичок є здатність працювати в команді. Спрацюємось, у нас можна зробити команду, організуємо. Добре комунікувати з людьми. 3, 4, 5. О, всі майже. О, так, бути надійним. Я думаю, це загальноукраїнська риса. Проявляти ініціативу. Є більшість.
Це прям проблема.
Бути підприємним та готовим ризикувати. Так, лише одна людина. Я думала, всі колеги, які зараз тут в Лондоні, це ті, які ризикують.
Ні, просто я не вважаю це ризик. Це не найкраща риса, кстати, теж. Бо іноді я кажу, ну давайте, шеф, ну давайте.
Треба знати баланс, так? Дотримуватись балансу якогось. Добре, давайте. О, тоді до цієї наступна визнавати помилки. О, тут все окей, все гаразд у нас. Підтримувати своє психологічне здоров'я. Але є люди, які... Хто не вміє підтримувати своє психологічне здоров'я, користуючись моментом, рекламую нашу психологічну групу підтримки. Приходьте до нас кожного четверга о 4 годині. Поїхали.
Right or wrong answer. It depends a little bit on your experience, you know, being able to be resilient. You might say that's a really important skill for me at the moment because I've come to this country and I'm really struggling with my mental health or my feeling of loss or my transition, and I need to be more resilient. And I think that's what an employer here would want. Having drive and determination, being able to take risks. This is a huge issue at the moment. Nobody ever told me at school how to make decisions and take risk. I was told, if you like, well, be safe, get the grades, get the exams. And these things are really important. So maybe just have a look at that. I know that Helena's printed this sheet out tonight. So have a look at it. And if you wanted to pause the video now and have a little discussion, maybe work in pairs just to talk about which are the top 6 that you would have, that would be helpful. I'll give you that option to do that now. But if you don't and you want to carry on listening to this, the point here is that there's no right or wrong answer. They can all be captured, if you like, in 5 families of self-management, teamwork, enterprise, problem solving, and speaking and listening. So often, if you give a whole long list to young people of things they have to do, they'll just lose their interest because it can be quite complex. And what we want to show is complex things shown simply without being simplistic. Let me say that again. Complex things, and all these things up here about taking initiative and determination and challenging situations and resilience, admitting mistakes. These are complex things, but we're asking you to think of them in a simple framework, and we're not simplifying it and making it trivial. We're saying it's really important.
Тут зрозуміло? Complex things. Make it simple, not simplify. Зробити це просто, але не спрощуючи. Це складний цей комплекс був розбитий на степси. І тут, до речі, давайте продовжимо нашу літературну дискусію. Self-management. Ми не змогли перекласти, тому що самоуправління – це адміністративна штука. Самоорганізація – це більше про спосіб організації чогось. Це не про себе. Можливо, самоорганізація. Іноді дуже складно перекласти англійські слова і беруть просто кальку. Не хочеться вносити більше англійських слів, а знайти відповідний.
Тому що менеджмент, насправді, він має під собою не тільки контроль. Є взагалі 5 функцій менеджменту. І одна з них тільки контроль. Тому якби перекладати самоконтроль, наче ми дуже обмежені.
Втрачати.
ChatGPT каже таке, що це самоуправління, як навик означає здатність особи ефективно керувати своїми думками, емоціями, поведінкою та часом для досягнення особистих та професійних цілей. Це навик включає кілька ключових компонентів: постановка цілей, організація часу, самодисципліна, саморегуляція, мотивація, адаптація.
Так, але в українській, я з GPT-чатом, як з ним спілкувалася, мені сподобалася його версія. Мені не підійшло, бо самоуправління – це спосіб, в українському контексті це інакше звучить.
Але самоуправління мені подобається, бо менеджмент – це ж управління, власне. Тобто не контроль, бо контроль дійсно дуже вузько, а менеджмент самоуправління.
Я мала на увазі, що самоуправління – це доадміністративна штука, це не про людину.
Самоорганізація, це в принципі як синоніми. Самокерування теж. Керування це організація, не вживається, в принципі.
Добре,
Якщо самоуправління це дійсно якось так адміністративно, але самоорганізація це вже про себе. Це дійсно про себе.
Дякую. Будемо мати на увазі.
So if tonight you can go away and think, I know 5 steps that will really help me in my self-management, in my ability to work in teams, in being able to be more enterprising and taking risks and showing initiative and being motivated to challenge yourself. Problem solving, there's always problems at work. How do you show an employer that you're good at solving problems? And then good communication skills, what we call speaking, listening. These will be things that really help you grow. And there's a handout and there's the booklet that you can take away and help us to refine them. One of the things about this project is it's been co-designed. We've worked with the young people who've given us feedback, some of the things that they've told us about embracing ambiguity.
це те, що ми зараз з вами робимо, кодизайн. Я дякую вам за поради, як краще перекласти, але Стівен пропонує ширше поглянути на це питання. Якщо у вас є пропозиція, як можуть змінитися ці степси, як перегрупувати або щось додати, будь ласка, будь-яка ініціатива буде вітатися.
That's come from a young person who said, I just don't understand how to make any sense of the future. And I said, you're not alone. Let's help people understand that. So there we are. And then this is the third section of our talk then tonight, because I'm going to zoom in on this first one. You can't manage other people if you can't manage yourself. You can't say to an employer, I'll work for you if you can't get there on time with the right attitude, with the right clothes. A lot of young people like working in McDonald's because it gives them a uniform. You know, think about that. If you come from a very poor household or background where you don't have smart clothes to work, isn't it great that you have a uniform? Just think about that in a different way. So in being able to be managing yourself, there's 6 things there that we've looked at. And the first one is understanding yourself, being self-aware. And the handout that Helena is going to give you is the worksheet on understanding yourself. And I want to, I've got the booklet here, let me just get it. Sorry. The booklet here is... sorry, this is the booklet. And on this section, number 3 or 4 pages, the first one we come in is all about self-awareness. So the test that we're going to ask you to do is called a psychometric test or a personality test. There are quite a lot of these around. They were really made famous by a couple called Myers-Briggs, and that's a very formal one that's been field tested for many, many years. The one that we're going to show you today is called 16 Personalities. And the wonderful thing about the 16 Personalities test is that they've translated into so many languages, including Ukraine. So this is the first time in this evening's session, I think we've been going for 20 or 30 minutes, that I'm going to stop talking and ask you to do some work. On the screen there is a QR code. If you get your mobile phone out and scan it in, you'll go to the Ukraine version of this test. Some of you might like to do it in English, because again, if you're learning English, the phrases and the terms that are used about personality could be really useful here. If you haven't got your mobile phones, and it's quite small, it's about 70 questions you have to go through, it'll take you about 15-20 minutes. Have a go with one person volunteering. Maybe Helena, you could ask Matt or Steve or somebody else to do the questions on the big screen, and people can watch the answers. And it's very revealing. Whenever I do it, I'm always fascinated. Some of the questions seem a bit repetitive. They ask almost the same question, but through a different prism or a different light. So don't be put off. Just work through it. It takes about 15 minutes. But please, I would love you now to get to a stage where, at that quote at the bottom, it's so incredible to be finally understood. And when I've done it, I've felt so relieved that I've been able to understand some of the words and the phrases and the terms and the drivers, I suppose that's the key word, the drivers that make me who I am, my personality. And it's got 4 or 5 different ways of looking at this around extrovert, introvert, intuitive. In fact, when I did mine, I'll show you in a second answer, is I came across as 84% extroverted, 75% a feeling person. I don't know what turbulent mean, I'll have to look at that later, but also 70% intuitive. And when I then am shown my ENFJ/T personality type, it says the personalities, the protagonists you use. And I was really thrilled that Maya Angelou, who was the woman who I quoted at the beginning of this talk, which has meant so much to me, had...
Пам'ятаєте цитату про те, як ти будеш, люди забудуть, хто про тебе тут є? Запам'ятають, як вони почувалися разом з тобою. Це улюблена цитата Стівена, і якраз Майя Анджелу теж є героєм, протагоністом.
Has my same personality. Discuss. So there we are. I'm going to go back there and ask you to pause the tape and have that exercise for 15 minutes. As I say, either do it from the QR code is there for the Ukrainian version, or going on to the English version, got your phones out, scan that one if you want to do the Ukrainian version, scan this one if you want to do the English language version. The website is www.16personalities.com. Have a go, and then I'm going to pause the tape, and then I'm going to come back afterwards, and you can see your results. See you soon.
Тепер час робити домашнє завдання. Стівен дав нам завдання пройти тест personality. Хто з HR, це соціоніка, здається, називається, да, в Україні? Тому що я ще там 2003 рік, коли прийшла на роботу, мене попросили заповнити Юнга, да, соціоніка. Воно перегукується, там просто трошки інакше це називалось, але тоді ще цікавились при найманні на роботу, яка ти є особистість, як ти обробляєш інформацію, як ти сприймаєш це все. Це досить важливо для роботодавця. І важливо також для вас, щоб ви розуміли себе краще, як ви поводитесь в тій. Це Стівен. Але я хочу протагоніст. Я проходила минулого року цей тест, і потім я зареєструвалася на ще один курс по підприємництву. І там теж попросили мене на початку травня, я проходила ще раз цей тест. Тобто я глянула, воно зберегло мій попередній результат з минулого року і цей рік. І в мене є трошки зміни. І саме цікаве, я стала теж протагоністом. Знаєте, як з ким поведешся, я стала більше схожа на Стівена, бо в нього там 70-90%, а в мене було десь так 53-55, ну тобто на межі було. І воно з часом змінюється. Воно все залежить, мабуть, іще від роботи, з якою ти працюєш, тому що попередня моя робота була пов'язана більше з аналітичною роботою, тобто я була thinking, тобто я прокачувала і спосіб сприйняття дійсності в мене теж трошки змінився. Тобто я зробила висновок, що з часом, з нашим оточенням, як ми комунікуємо з людьми, змінюється і наша навіть персоналіті. Незначно, але є таке.
Зовсім інший. Personality був зовсім інший в мене. Тобто в мене був thinking type, analytical type.
Так.
А потім ось зараз я проходила 2 рази із періодом, із розривом декілька днів. І він теж результат був різний. Тому я підозрюю, що навіть від настрою залежить. Ти зробив якусь таску.
Вони рекомендують не частіше, ніж півроку. Робити перерву в півроку.
Да, я просто підозрюю, що якщо ти в тебе класний день вдалий, ти зробив вдало щось, да, щось там досягнув, і ти можеш трошечки по-іншому сприймати навіть питання. Тому, да, можливо...
Твій мозок опрацював ці питання, і ти думаєш, краще б я відповіла так на це питання, то я б виглядала б краще.
В цьому тесті, до речі, Стівен про це теж каже, що питання, вони повторюються, але трошки інакше, тобто вони вас перевіряють. Тобто тут є контроль. Так, хтось закінчив тест? Так, допоможіть мені повернути назад. Технічна підтримка потрібна. Мені треба повернути назад. Зараз. Мої технічні хард-скіли не дозволяють мені промотати презентацію по софт-скілам. Так, будь ласка. Просто набирайте пошуковику 16 personalities. Да, є адрес. Імейл. Ми можемо разом пройти ці питання. Так. Є. Вибирайте, там є мова англійська, є українська, кому якою зручніше. Зараз ми виведемо на екран і пройдемо швиденько. Matt, do you want to try test with us? If I question on the screen. Yes. Free personality test. Take a test. Yes, show me a test. Yeah. Oh, this.
Okay.
I will ask you and you answer, okay?
Sure.
And we check who you are.
Yeah, I'm doing it online anyway. Okay. So you ask me and I'll answer.
Yeah. So. Are you regularly make new friends? What? Agree?
Yeah, big agree.
Big agree. Okay. Complex and novel ideas. Oh my English pronunciation.
Yeah. Complex and novel
I'm terribly
ideas.
sorry for my English.
I can say, do you think that complex and novel ideas excite you more than simple and straightforward ones? So that's
Agree,
that would be
big.
agree, big agree.
Yeah. You usually feel more persuaded by what resonates emotionally with you.
There.
Okay. Yeah. Якщо не помиляюсь, процвітати, ні?
Там в куточку можна вибрати мову.
It's about how to translate better from English to Ukrainian discussion. You live in and working spaces are clean and organized?
Big agree.
Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not about my kids.
My
Oh.
mum would disagree with that maybe.
Yeah, we should check with your mom.
Yeah. You usually stay calm.
And even
Yeah.
under a lot of pressure.
About there. That one.
Are you conformist? You always agree.
Yeah, I disagree. I'll start disagreeing. I mean, when I
Okay.
disagree, I disagree. I will disagree.
You find the idea of networking or promoting yourself to stranger very daunting.
No.
No?
I'm okay with that. I'm like there,
Okay,
meeting new people.
next. You prioritize and plan tasks
Not
effectively?
really. No.
No?
I'm
It's
about,
first
I'm
time.
about here.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
start to disagree. People's stories and emotions speak louder than
try about there.
People start to speak louder. So you stick with people, not with data
Yeah, I
and
tend
number.
to go with emotions, but I
Okay.
try and work hard with data. But my instinct is
But you IT person.
instinctively I go for emotions.
Okay.
Yeah.
You like to use organizing tools?
Yeah, I do. I love it.
Big agree. Yeah. Again, this side. Even a small mistake can cause you to doubt.
No.
No.
Disagree. Big one.
Big.
Yeah, I don't. Even a small mistake, not at all.
You feel comfortable just walking up to someone?
Yeah, pretty much. Sort of there.
There, okay. You have. You are not too interested in discussion about various interpretation of creative works.
Disagree.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Total disagree. Okay, slightly disagree. Next.
Never done this before. It's good.
And
It's
just
interesting.
5 minutes again.
Sorry?
You have done this 5 minutes.
No, I've not done that. I've not done that full exercise before.
Okay. You prioritize facts over people feelings when determine.
I try not
It's
to.
again about data and people.
Yeah, I try not to, but I'd say there because I try and go with facts, but my instinct is emotions.
You often allow the day to unfold without any schedule at all.
Disagree. I'd be about there.
Yeah, I remember you are a very organized person. You rarely worry about whether you make a good impression on people you meet.
Really worry. Yeah, I don't. Not really. Not too much. Maybe about here. I don't mind too much. Wait. I worry, but not too much.
Okay. You enjoy participating in team-based activities. I agree, total agree, maybe. I guess, no?
No, because I'm quite shy, so I would do it, but I'm a bit shy. I'm sort of like in the middle there. I will do it,
The first time you choose
but I'm
the
a bit
middle.
shy. Yeah, with like team activity. But
You enjoy experimenting with new and
yeah,
untested
I'm
approach.
good with that.
You're an innovator, yes?
Yeah, either or. I don't know which.
Big agree.
Okay.
You prioritize being sensitive over being completely honest.
Yeah, I'm English. You prioritise being sensitive. I'm about.
Not very much.
Yeah, I want to be more. I'm about here or there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you choose?
It's an English thing, being sensitive and not being. Like, there's this English thing about being overly polite and not being.
Yeah, for Ukrainians,
honest.
I guess it's different. We try to be honest and just truth.
Just straight. Yeah,
Straight.
which is good.
I don't know what
We always worry
better.
about, we don't want to offend. We try and be too polite.
It's
not,
cultural
It's
sense.
not a good characteristic. So I'm like that. So I try and be honest, but I'm sensitive.
You actively seek
Yeah,
out new
Big
experience.
agree.
Yeah, it's about innovator.
You
You're
are prone
prone
to
to-
worrying that things will turn out. No, don't worry about it. No, yeah, I don't worry. I think about it, but I don't worry about it. So I
Big
disagree.
disagree.
Yeah, but I think about it, but I don't worry.
You enjoy solitary hobbies or activities more than group ones.
Yeah, I'm good with solitary hobbies. Big agree.
Big. But I guess before that you choose something on middle when we talk about groups activities.
Yeah, I'm good on my own.
You cannot imagine yourself writing fictional stories for a living.
Yeah, I cannot imagine myself. So I'm like here.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Yeah.
Okay, your favorite.
Efficient, even if it means
Some
disregarding
emotional
emotional.
aspect.
Efficiency. I do like efficiency, even if it means disregarding. Yeah.
It's about politely.
Yeah, I'm about
Politeness.
here.
Politeness.
Yeah. I should
Again.
be better at it. I should be better.
You prefer to do your course.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I prefer to get things done.
Okay. Awesome.
should
I
do
hope
this
it's
for you.
the last.
I should do yours. We've got a long way to go.
Wow. In disagreement, you prioritize providing your point over preserving the feeling of others.
No, I disagree with that.
Disagree.
Yeah. Introducing themselves first at social gatherings. No, not really. I'm about here. Your movement change very quickly. No, not really. I'm pretty stable, like here or there.
Oh, don't know what happened. You are not easily swayed by emotional arguments.
You're not easily swayed by emotional arguments. I'm about here.
Okay.
You often end up doing things at the last possible moment. I do that. Yes, in the middle, agree. Right there. That one. I'm going to pull you. You enjoy debating ethical dilemmas. Yeah, I love it. Agree. They were doing theirs. I'll go through quick now. You usually prefer to be around others rather than on your own. I'm about here. I'm good on my own. No, disagree. Big one. When facts and feeling conflict, you usually find yourself following your heart. I try and be better. I'm about there. I'm always trying to work on that. You find it challenging to maintain a consistent work? No, I don't. Disagree. Rarely second guess. Yeah, sort of there, I'd say. Your friends would describe you as lively and outgoing. Yeah, they would. Agree. You're drawn to various forms of creative expression, such as writing. Not really. About here. Show some objective facts rather than emotional impressions. Not really. I'm there. You like to have a to-do list? Yeah. Strong agree. Every day. Big agree. Oh, sorry. Oh, hang on. You rarely feel insecure? Oh, yeah, I do rarely feel insecure. Yeah, yeah, it's a big agree. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very rarely. You can't go back, yeah. You avoid making phone calls? No. Disagree. I'm about there. Disagree.
I'm sometimes annoyed.
Yeah,
especially in English.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine. You enjoy exploring unfamiliar ideas? Yeah, agree. You can easily connect with people you've just met. Yeah, agree. Big one. If your plans are interrupted, your top priority to get back on track as soon as possible. Yep. No, disagree. Not bothered. You're not too interested in discussing theories on what the world could look like in the future. No, I'm about here. I like talking about stuff like that. Your emotions control you more than you control them. No, I'm actually good at controlling my emotions. So your emotions. So I disagree because I've got better as I've got older at controlling my emotions. When making decisions, you focus on how the affected people might. When making decisions, you focus more on how the affected people might feel. Yeah, I tend to do a bit sort of there. Just that's the English disease. Personal work stuff. Yeah, I call it the English disease because it's just too much sometimes. Your personal work style is closer to spontaneous bursts of energy. No, sort of disagree with that. I'm about here. When someone thinks highly of you, you wonder how long it will take them to feel disappointed. No, I don't. Disagree. You would love a job that requires you to work alone most of the time. No, I disagree with that because I do like working with people. You believe that pondering abstract philosophical questions is a waste of time. Disagree. Big one. feel more drawn to busy, bustling atmospheres. Yeah, which I do actually. Even though I like being on my own, I still like being around. I like being around the noise, but not involved. If a decision feels right, you often act on it without needing further proof. Yeah, that's quite a big agree. Yeah, it is. You often feel overwhelmed. No, sort of disagree there. You complete things methodically without skipping over any steps. Yeah, I do. Yeah, when I do something, I do it methodically. You prefer tasks that require you to come up with creative solutions rather than follow concrete steps. Yeah, about there. You're more likely to rely on emotional interest and logical reasoning when making a choice. I try not to, yeah, I'm in the middle. I'm always working on that. You struggle with deadlines. Yeah, disagree. I don't. You feel confident that things will work out. Yeah, I agree. I'm always I'm forever optimistic.
Are you ready?
Select your gender. Male.
Male and see results.
Right.
Protagonist. Yeah, you're the same.
I'm a protagonist. Protagonists are inspiring optimists, ready to take. Protagonists are inspiring optimists, readily taking action to do what they feel is right. Yeah. ENFJA. I'm going to make a note of that. Yeah.
It's the same as Stephen.
Is it really?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I was saying that to Stephen the other day, that when we were talking here one evening, I was saying me and you are too, in a way, we're too similar. And it's good for me and Stephen to have somebody as a counterbalance. Because me and him, we agree too much. We want to say yes to stuff.
If be honest, I also a protagonist. I will be
You as well. We need a counterbalance.
I think it's Stephen affect us.
It's infectious.
Some way, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to make a note of that then. ENFJA. Nice one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Які у вас результати? Які у вас результати? Ви вже визначили? Є протагоністи? О, нашої команди більше. Хо-хо. Хто ще є у нас в команді?
Я адвокат, але все
Адвокат.
те, що написано, не про мене.
Ні?
Ні.
Окей.
Ваші сильні і слабі сторони, ну, тобто якось зовсім не про мене.
Або, може, ви себе просто не приймаєте?
Ні, я просто
Окей.
знаю, що я ніколи не можу подивитися на людину і все про неї одразу знати. Я про неї не буду знати, аж поки вона вибречення.
О, в нас є 2 адвокати, 5-6 протагоністів. Хто ще є?
Я логіст.
Логіст?
Логіст, да. Ну, типу,
Тобто, якщо ми сплануємо якусь зустріч, це ідеальна версія.
ну це типу не
Хто
той
буде
логіст,
організатором?
Ну, logician. Це типу не той, хто логістикою займається, а хто логічно.
А,
мислить,
логічно.
скоріше
Мгм.
всього це.
Угу. Ну, нам підходить. Беремо у свою команду. Хто ви, Марина? Хто? Тренер. О, тренер. Для нашої команди це рідкість. Дякую. Хто ще? Ви визначили, ні? Чи? Ні? Вікторія, ви хто?
37% чекаєте, я один тест пройшла.
Ви так
Вони
с-
попросили грошей, я потім на інший зайшла.
А там фрі є. Треба було з нього починати.
Так отож, чекайте, 37%.
Добре. Юля, у вас як? Ще в процесі. Хто? Посередник. О, це теж новеньке щось для нашої команди. А у вас є результати? Є, в мене керівник. Вау! Кожної команди має бути керівник. Тепер визначили. Івана, а у вас? Ще ні, ще в процесі. Добре, ми тоді будемо продовжувати.
Слабі сторони це про мене, а сильні ні.
Ну, то можливо, ви недооцінюєте.
Хлопці, допоможіть мені переключити на інше відео. Так, завершуємо тест. У вас ще є на 2 хвилини. Там, до речі, цікаво, є про сильні і слабкі ваші сторони, потім як ви реалізуєтесь в сім'ї, в відносинах, на роботі, по професіям.
Наскільки я пам'ятаю, англійська версія, вона більш
Так, так, так. Але український переклад теж непоганий, мені сподобався.
Після українського тексту далі вже тільки англійська мова видає все підписи та все інше.
Вже опис, там найбільша версія це англійською.
Так, так, так. І, до речі, я рекомендую вам авторизуватися. А, ні, до речі, ви ж там вводили чи ні імейл свій. Просто воно зберігає тоді ваші результати. Я кажу, я була дуже вражена відмінність минулого року і цього року. Ну, тобто там по деяких позиціях абсолютно співпали відсотки, а деякісь... Тобто в мене додалося інтуїтивного, але я по собі відчуваю, що я трошки відпустила контроль і більше покладаюся на те, як воно... Ну, просто в наш час, мені здається, дуже важко щось планувати і контролювати, тому я так намагаюся, я над цим працюю, і воно мені показало результат, думаю, о, ну, значить, підтвердили, значить, десь таки змінююся. Є, так? Так. Натискаємо. Зараз перевіримо. Стівене, чуєш нас?
Well, thank you very much. Hopefully that was useful. And we're then going to press play and resume our talk. How did you get on? What did you find out about yourself? Maybe after the talk tonight, over the bar, you can talk to each other, compare each other's phrases, send that QR code to other people in your communities, because it's a start. It's not a really, I mean, they say it's scientifically proven, and they've obviously done a lot of testing with psychologists and psychiatrists and helping people to understand the validity of this. But even if you don't agree totally with your personality profile, I hope it helps you to think a little bit about those 4 or 5 elements. There you go, that was mine again. Do you remember about me? They got me down to a T. They said I'm an inspiring optimist, ready to take action to do what they feel is right. I'm very much driven about my feelings, which is fine. And anyways, there you go. When you understand yourself, it helps you to think very much about how you fit into the world of work. I say, you could be an accountant working with a whole range of different companies. You could work in the city. You could work in a school. You could be self-employed. You could work as an accountant in a charity. You could work in Africa. You could do so many things with those skills of being an accountant. But the environment that you choose to work in and you feel confident and happy with, I think is equally important. So sometimes think a little bit about where does your personality, where do you feel most comfortable? And obviously you have to compromise. You can't find the perfect space that allows your personality and your character to be accepted. But it is important to begin to think about environments. I've worked in the corporate sector once for about 6 months. And I hated it. It just wasn't me. I just could not fit into very tightly controlled boxes. I had to have more entrepreneurial opportunities and enterprise opportunities. Is it any wonder that I've always built my life being a chief executive of charities that I've either run or led or set up? So I need the autonomy. I need an opportunity to grow and develop and show my passion. And that's just me. We're all different. And one of the things that I say to young people is compare and despair. Don't compare yourself with people. Recognize what you're good at. Own your superpower. Understand who you are. Try to be confident in who you are, despite the background, despite what you've been through. You are unique. You are precious. You've got something to so many people, including employers.
Це дуже важлива порада від Стівена, і мене ця фраза на початку дуже надихала. Не порівнювати себе з кимось, бо від порівняння ви завжди програєте і почуваєтесь дуже некомфортно, та ви завжди можна знайти когось кращого і тоді страждати, що я не такий класний, як хтось.
А можна знайти гіршого.
Ну,
Гіршого для того, щоб виглядати краще.
Ні, просто самолюбуватися собою.
Класно вам. У мене чомусь мій внутрішній критик завжди шукає когось кращого і каже: дивись, а він може? Чи вона може?
Чекайте, місце для росту.
Так.
Не гноблення себе, а місце для росту. Це інший підхід. Можна знайти кращих і просто не як ікону дивитися, а як на задачі. А порівнювати себе з тими, де ти вже й пройшов етап.
Ну, порівнювати треба себе з собою, навчитися. Я вчусь цього. От, а я згодна, що треба мати якісь орієнтири і виходити з цієї зони комфорту. Але все залежить від того, як далеко ти дивишся, яка дистанція. Ну і як ти до цього ставишся, так, я згодна.
Коли порівнюєш з собою, отут і включається критик. Гірший, важчий, важкий, який ну просто саморозрушення робить.
А у нас різні досвіди. І критики у нас різні. Познайомимо їх. Так. Так, я знову щось зробила і воно не працює. О, Стівен.
Well, good evening. My name is Stephen.
No, it's not.
Because it's a station to do what they feel is right. I'm very much driven about my feelings, which is fine. And anyways, there you go. When you understand yourself, it helps. Important. So sometimes think a little bit about where does your personality, where do you feel most comfortable? And obviously you have to compromise. You can't find the perfect space that allows your personality and your character to be accepted. But it is important to begin to think about environments. I've worked in the corporate sector once for about 6 months and I hated it. It just wasn't me. I just could not fit into very tightly controlled boxes. I had to have more entrepreneurial opportunities and enterprise opportunities. Is it any wonder that I've always built my life being a chief executive of charities that I've either run or led or set up? So I need the autonomy. I need an opportunity to choose the teamwork sections and many people, including employers. So then we're going to look at the next section this evening, which is the teamwork sections. And in our booklet, we look at 6 key elements of being a good team player: showing empathy to colleagues and to fellow team members, being flexible, especially at this age with the multitasking and being able to have to often do 2 or 3 jobs within a company. It's interesting, I've spoken to a lot of people who said that during this time of austerity, where there's been cutbacks, especially in public service work, that people who used to do 1 job often have to do 2.5, sometimes 3 jobs, and they're expected to be more flexible and to dip in and out of different types of roles. And it's difficult. I don't think it's a good thing. I think there's a danger of being exploited, but being flexible is important. Managing conflict, unfortunately in the workplace, it goes down to the problem solving section as well. There are a lot of things. How do you work within conflict, especially in a team? How do you build your network outside of the team, and how do you grow your network in your team? Your network is your net worth, we say, and it's really important to look at that. Promoting other people, it's really interesting. A lovely worker here, a manager here in London, told me once, I look for people who make other people look good. That's interesting. In an interview, he said, my task is to bring 8 or 9 people together who I know can do the job, and I just watch them. And I don't want an egotist being a manager. I want somebody who can make other people look good. How do you promote other people? It's a really important soft skill. I don't think people think about it. They often think, especially men, all about me, sharp elbows, get out of the way, I'm coming through. What people in teams need is people who make other people feel comfortable and can grow. And I've said this before, that the art of a good manager is to make people feel happy and positive about themselves and their work. And sadly, so many managers make people feel frustrated. You might want to ask some Facework staff who I manage whether that's true or not about me. But it's really important that you get into a team where you can promote other people. And the one that we're going to look at particularly is about respecting diversity. And that's something that in the UK work scene is very, very, very important. We live in a multicultural environment, and there's lots of different issues that we call protected characteristics, which are now in law that employers have to abide by and look through. Now, when I've handed these out to you, and these are the English versions, but they're translated into Ukrainian, we're going to do another exercise, and I'm going to stop the tape for another 10 or 15 minutes while you have a look through some of them. I'd love you to give us some feedback. You can scribble on them, you can write, this isn't very clear, or this could be better, or in the Ukrainian context, this word is wrong. We have a page for each of them on empathy, a page on being flexible, and that includes an understanding of mindset. We've talked about this before in the course, the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset is this word yet. I can't do it yet. I'm not flexible yet. It's okay. And nobody expects you to have all these superpowers straight away.
Я перепрошую, забула за мікрофон. В цій групі Teamwork Skills у нас є Showing Empathy, як ми співпереживаємо, вміємо розуміти людей, відчуваємо їх емоції. І так, наскільки ми гнучкі, він говорить про те, що є mindset, вилетіло українською мовою, допоможіть, будь ласка. Спосіб мислення є у нас фіксоване, і є спосіб мислення, коли ми собі дозволяємо змінюватись і ростемо гнучкий. І оцей якраз є це про той гнучкий спосіб мислення, що ми ще недостатньо хороші в цьому поки що, але я ще можу зробити.
But it's really important that you think a little bit about how do you become more flexible in your attitude, in taking risks, in being adaptable. So those are the things there, and there's a good example at the bottom of videos that you can look at. Managing conflict, there's one on there. These skills are really important to get right, because if you can manage conflict in the workplace, you can manage conflict in the home and in your relationships. So there's some important principles there. Building networks, we've talked about that. Promoting other people, we've talked about that. And then this one, which is respecting diversity. Now, the diversity one is particularly important for the UK. And you'll know, don't you, that there is such diversity here in London. And it's important for us not to make mistakes when we talk to people about where they're from or what they do or their cultural background or their identity. And if you look at this worksheet together, it would be good for you to talk in pairs, maybe about these points. It's sort of summarized really where it's important, because misunderstanding and cultural differences can lead to misinterpretations and offense. Failing to be inclusive in your communication can alienate potential customers and harm your reputation. Failing to embrace cultural awareness or recruit diverse workforces can seriously limit your ability to innovate and to find new ideas, because diverse teams and tangential thinking brings creativity and innovation. And if we perpetuate stereotypes or prejudice, we have to really recognize that creates real issues in communities and can lead to legal and criminal consequences. So I think this is a really important point to make here. I'm looking at it really particularly in the workplace, but I'm also thinking about you as coming into the country, and if you are experiencing racism or some type of bias, if people are being rude to you because of the way that you speak or because of your nationality, you have a right, and we need to help you to be protected from any type of abuse, and you need to know what your rights are. So next week on the course, we're looking at legal rights within the workplace, and we might touch on that in terms of legal rights in the UK as a citizen. So what I want you to do is think about that section. For each of these sections, you can colour in the spider's web. Sorry, here it is, the spider's web. Yes, and I think about this is it shows you where you think you are at the moment. So if you think you're very empathetic, well, colour it up to the top. If you don't feel you're as flexible as you should be, well, just give yourself 3 out of 7. If you're not very good at building networks, again, make a judgment. There's no right or wrong answer. And the reason why we've designed this self-evaluation sheet in the round is that it shows you might be strong in one and not as strong in the other, but you get a composite view. This is something that will change week after week or month after month. There'll be sometimes think, well, I'm good at being flexible in a certain situation, but not in another one. That's fine. At least you begin to have the discussion and think about how flexible, how a little bit more flexible you could be. And one of the points about this here is that you could ask your mates. We have this phrase called mates rates, rate your mate, especially for young people. When I was doing this work with excluded young people, they said, Steve, I don't really care what you think. Check your privilege. You've already, left school, you've got your job, you've probably got a house. What I'm interested in is what my mates think about me. And this is what's really helpful in terms of young people on the football pitch. Somebody says, I'm not very good at being a good leader. And somebody says, no, you're great on the football pitch. You're our captain. You're brilliant. You're the one who tells us to get there on time. And validating those qualities in non-academic worlds is really important. So, who do you know who's very empathetic? Who do you know who's very flexible? Who do you know in your network who's really good at managing conflict? Who do you know who's good at building their network? The people who know everybody in the community. Well, what is it about them? How do they get that? How do they get good? How do they get good at promoting others? Think of somebody who you just think, do you know what? I notice every time I see you, you're more interested in we than me. We're interested in us as a community, or I'm interested in how you're getting on rather than just banging on about what I'm doing or the problems that I have. Those are really important qualities. Can you understand? And who else do you know who in your network is really good at respecting diversity? Who recognises that disabled people have additional challenges and needs that we need to be more empathetic about? Young people who are interested in other areas of their lives. They may be transitioning. They may not know what their gender identity is at the moment. These are things that really are important. So we can learn through peer learning. And
про peer learning. Я вважаю, що це Стівен відповів на нашу дискусію про те, що порівнювати з кимось. Тобто він пропонує знайти серед нашого оточення людину, яка краща в чомусь, і орієнтуватися на неї, і вчитися в неї. Тобто Стівен зайняв вашу позицію, Вікторія. Ви, до речі, ви не протагоніст? Кампейн. Окей. Отже, трошки воно різниця. В українській версії немає цієї таблички, коли можна порівнювати з колегами, з своїм оточенням. Тому що Стівен постійно змінює, і український переклад не встигає за англійською версією. Тому майте на увазі, що це павутинка, яку ви робите оцінку, ви робите перш за все це для себе. Це не є щось погане, або це не оцінка вас як особистості. Це просто ви визначаєте свої індивідуальні особливості. І потім ви можете подивитись, чого вам не вистачає, що вам варто було б, ви самі визначаєте для себе, що для вас варто було б ще додати, повчитися. І після цього він пропонує зробити такий чекаут по вашому оточенню, хто міг би бути для вас зразком в кожній цій навичці. Є. Дам зараз. Добре, так.
There's lots of ways that we can learn through books and through listening to talks and watching on YouTube. There's a lot of misinformation around diversity here, so we have to know about the reliability of information, being very clear. But it's also really important to rate yourselves. And what you might do in the next 10 minutes when I stop the video is just talk to each other about a couple of these worksheets, take them away, maybe just do one together. They'll only take you 10 minutes to go through. They're really discussion starters. And it shows you what the benefits are of being good in these areas. So let's have another pause for 20 minutes, and then I'll come back on and we'll look at another section and maybe get some feedback from you. Okay.
Я думаю, що у нас не 20 хвилин, ми вже near the end. Нам давайте хвилин 5, оскільки я бачила, що більшість з вас вже павутинку фарбували, у вас є вже відповіді. 5 хвилин, навіть менше, давайте 3 хвилини, і ми продовжимо.
На формуванні павутинки?
Так.
А хто не зробив?
А хто не зробив домашнє завдання? У вас є 2 хвилини, потім я забираю зошити і щоденник батьків в школу. Стівене, ми тебе здивуємо. Ми зробимо не за 20 хвилин, а за 3 хвилини. Жорсткі українські умови. Особливість цього завдання, що з часом ви можете взяти інший колір і пройтися знову. Так. Так. Ваші оцінки. Або падіння. Така реальність. Жорстка холодна реальність.
А можна уточнити, що тут це вміння конфліктувати? Це, мабуть, чи переклад?
Так. Тут дивіться, просто воно поміняло місцями, бо нам треба було вмістити його.
Це вирішувати. Менеджинг конфлікт.
Тобто вирішувати
конфлікти.
Зауваження. Ну, правильно конфліктувати. Ага. Так, дякую за зауваження, приймаємо. Так, я, мабуть, буду собі робити позначки.
не починати. Можна їх не починати.
Ескалувати ще можна бути.
Так.
Оце мені більше подобається. Не починати.
Я думала ескалувати. Мені подобається ескалувати. Крапка. Не почула. Окей. Ну так же цікавіше жити, так? Має бути якась інтрига. Так. Біп-біп-біп-біп-біп. Наш час закінчився, 3 хвилини пройшло. Є? Можете поділитись? Ну, я маю на увазі, яка у вас навичка найкраще проявлена?
От я виділила для себе сприяння іншим.
Це найбільший бал.
Да. Ні. Promoting others. Promoting others. Да, от сприяння іншим. От мені от так, коли всі навколо протагоністи, мені хорошо стає.
А найменше?
А найменше, ну тут у мене найменша повага до різноманітності і вміння конфліктувати по перекладу. Тобто я би краще не починала конфлікти.
Уникають. Але
Да.
це теж нездорова стратегія, мені здається, коли уникаються конфлікти.
Коли приходиш, а тут конфлікт на конфлікті, треба бути в центрі.
Ну от у мене це, мабуть, 5 собі поставила, мабуть, мені треба покращувати. Я все ще
є над чим працювати.
Да,
Хто ще
да,
поділиться?
ще попрацюю.
У мене так само в сприяння іншим. Ну, от я відчуваю задоволення, навіть дарувати подарунки мені приємніше, чим отримати. І дивитися, як хтось зростає, в когось виходить мені прикольніше, ніж, ну, я і так знаю, що я сама класна, а якщо ще хтось...
Нагадайте, ви теж протагоніст?
Так, теж протагоніст.
Так, і розбудова
Мережі знайомств, так, я дуже люблю комунікації, мені, в принципі, легко це вдається. І не просто комунікувати, а зберігати гарні стосунки потім з людьми.
І працювати треба над чим?
Працювати треба, у мене є трошки мало поваги до різноманітності, але більше...
Ви до цього тут не навчилися.
Ні, але в мене, я мала на увазі, в мене, наприклад, це не до того, щоб до раси чи там до якихось особливостей. якби не знаю, до людей з особливими потребами, в мене абсолютно позитивне ставлення. Наприклад, мені іноді не подобаються якості інших людей, і мені хочеться їх змінити. Я дуже активно вступаю.
Це геройські якості, мабуть. Протагоніст вступає в силу і хочеться все змінити на краще.
Тобто в цьому моя нетерпимість проявляється.
Тетяна, у вас є? Поділитесь?
Я раніше робила, буквально нещодавно схожу павутинку, але вона трішки відрізнялася і вже маю певний аналіз, тому тут не робила. Але я знаю, що в мене дуже сильна якість гнучкість, тобто я досить швидко адаптовуюся під різні умови і різні виклики. Погоджуюсь, напевно, з різноманітністю. Інколи важко сприймати, що хтось інший, але якраз розвиває в себе цей навик не змінювати людей. Тому що вони є, які є, це не під нашою зоною впливу. Ми маємо, напевно, бути толерантними, тому цей навик я розвиваю до різноманітності, щоб поважати всіх і кожного з тим багажем знань і навиків, які є. І все.
Добре, дякую. Тоді давайте ще одну людину. Вікторія, ви готові поділитися?
Давайте.
Цікаво.
З найгіршого почнемо, чи не з чого почнемо? Стакан наполовину пуст?
Давайте з поганої новини. Яка у вас погана?
Ну то класика жанра Managing Conflicts. Ну це ж я топов всього. Тобто, напевно, number one.
У вас провокатор чи який, нагадайте?
Ні, в мене кампейн, але Managing Conflict взагалі, на жаль, не моє. Да? Тобто, я починаю бикувати. Я восхищаюсь, як ви в соцмережах тушите.
Між крапельками
дурочком. Це супер якість, до якої треба рости, але в мене є теорія, що з цим рождаються. Я не вірю в ідею, прям не вірю, що менеджером можна стати. І ні. Потреба мати якісті, які можна розвинути, але якщо в тебе цих якістей немає, навіть не треба туди сунутися, як на мене. Треба розвивати те, що в тебе є.
Так, що у вас
така
є,
теорія. Так, що є, що може. От симпатія в мене теж не дуже. Я побувала б у всіх, якщо була б влада. І не всіх, да. А кого вважаю за потрібним. А і being flexible теж не моє. Тобто, серйозно, адаптуватися, серйозно, під вас, нашу. Пусть этот мир прогнется під нас. Оце building networks, оце я можу. Це скоріше моє. І diversity, окей, і promotion others. Власне, не згідна, там була така українська формулювання, тобто, мені там подобається підтримувати. Мені здається, це саме про те, щоб пушити інших, пушити наверх. Це коли в англійській версії я так це читаю. Так. І ото,
Добре, подумаємо над цим. Дякую. Тепер давайте надамо слово Стівену, останні 5-10 хвилин. Все, йдемо далі, так?
Okay.
Stephen, back to us, please.
Okay, well, back again. We're going to resume. I hope you found that exercise helpful. Don't rush it. If you need a bit more time, I know Helena will allow you to do that. And if you're watching this video later and you wanted to look at those worksheets, you can download them at face.work /resources, I think it is. You'll find it somewhere. Maybe we can put that on the end of the video link at the end. And especially if you're working in Ukraine with young people, we've had some wonderful feedback from students in a university there who said they've never understood how these qualities and these skills can be intentionally taught to other young people. The students who we were working with were going to be teachers themselves. So there's a great way that we can use this resource in other environments, including back in Ukraine. Now, this is the last part of my talk tonight, and I do want to, again, don't want to rush it, but I think it's really important that you realize that this worksheet we've been looking about diversity is absolutely crucial in the workplace. And you're likely, when you go to a job, certainly in a big company, or a non-profit organization or a local authority, to be asked about equal opportunities. So I thought this was going to be relevant as you face work. And as part of our course today, we're going to look at this. So companies that embrace diversity and inclusion in all aspects of their businesses statistically outperform their peers. That's by a businessman called Josh Berthin. I don't know him, but I read that recently, and I thought that summarizes the reason this isn't sort of like something that is something difficult to have. It's something that we need to embrace if we want to become successful workers and develop businesses that are successful. So workplace diversity is understanding, this is 3 important words: understanding, accepting, and valuing differences between people. And these include people of different races, of ethnicities, of genders, of ages, of religions, of disability, and sexual orientation. And also with differences in education, personalities, skill sets, experiences, and knowledge bases. And I didn't put in the list.
Наскільки я зрозуміла з нашого тесту, у нас якраз проблема з personality, skill sets, experience. Отут у нас з accepting different personality, тут виникають проблеми. У українців немає проблем з ethnicity, race, gender, age, religion, disability. Внизу це foundation.
There about neurodiversity, but it's increasingly important that we recognize that some people have different ways of learning and thinking and behaving based on their brains and the way that they have been brought up or experienced trauma or have grown through experiences. And I'm not qualified to talk about that, so I'm not going to go down that route, but I do think it's important for you to do some research on and think, and we might have some resources that we can circulate afterwards. Why is this really important? Well, Britain is by far the most diverse country on this website. It says probably on the planet. I don't know about that, but certainly in Europe, largely because it had a large empire and a commonwealth of nations on earth. And certainly in the 60s and 70s and 80s, we had a much more open opportunity for people to come to the UK. And obviously, when we were part of the European Union, we had a free movement of travel. So lots of people, particularly from Romania, from Poland, well, across the whole of Europe, came to London particularly. Lots of French students came to London because at that time the financial industry was very strong in the UK. So I don't know if you want to do a little test. How many people are in the UK? We're just under 60 million. That compares with nearly 44 million in Ukraine, as an example. But here's the difference. In UK, 81% of that population is white, and that's decreased since 2011. And 18% belong to, and I hate grouping people together, but just it's really important that you recognize Black, Asian, mixed or other ethnic groups is around 18%. And it's really important that you recognize that when people say they're Black, they may be Black British. They may have come from parts of the Commonwealth, from Nigeria, from the Caribbean, but many of them are 2nd or 3rd generation Black British. So they would identify as British, not from their origin. They may do. And there is a whole debate about how people define themselves, and we need to let people say how they want to be defined. And say, if you ask people, you'd never ask somebody where you're from, but you might sort of say, how would you identify yourself if you knew them well? And they may have their own way of describing that. In Ukraine, 77% are Ukrainian, and I think from the 21 statistics there, it gives the breakdown of others, but most would be from a similar ethnic background. Again, I don't want to say anything that's either offensive or wrong, so I'm not going to talk about race in that culture. But when I've been to Ukraine, it is fairly predominantly white. And so I think...
I'm so sorry. Я вибачаюсь перед Стівеном, але у нас просто різні історії з Британією і Україною. Британія була імперією, і всі ці країни були. Україна ніколи не була імперією, ну, принаймні, новітню історію. Тому те, що у нас повністю біле населення, це не означає, ну, тобто, є для цього причини і...
Ну, це він в Одесі просто не був.
Так, це Лондон. Лондон відрізняється від Британії дуже сильно.
Не просто Лондон відрізняє. Я коли сюди вперше приїхала і потім сіла назад повертатися в автобус, думаю, щось якось не так виглядає там, де я живу. І я зрозуміла, що при тому, що в нас всі є і багато всіх, але тут набагато більше чорних.
Від району ще залежить. Є деякі райони, в яких більше їх і школи, наприклад, можуть бути переважно.
Ну, я просто вела до того, що це не означає, що в нашому Україна не поважає різноманіття чи як.
Я згодна, тому що у нас отака картинка, яку
Так.
ми маємо, тому у нас diversity неприємлемо.
Ну, не,
Тому оце і є бекграунд.
Ні. У нас неприйняття diversity було про те, що ти хочеш змінити іншу людину. Тобто ти не можеш прийняти людину. Ну, це українська звичка все прямо казати в очі, змінювати, ламати, бо ти вважаєш, що ти правий. Так, це трошки інше. Добре, давайте дослухаємо Стівена.
When you come to the UK, you have to recognize that we have a very diverse culture, and especially in London, I think it really works well. It's interesting. There have obviously been examples where there's been conflict and dreadful racism and appalling violence because of, as a society, there are laws in place now that protect, indeed, the Education or the Equality Act of 2010 really makes it illegal to discriminate against somebody due to their age, their disability, their gender reassignment, their status of marriage or being in a civil partnership. It's illegal to discriminate against somebody who was pregnant. If you went to work, or went to a job interview and you were pregnant and you weren't taken on board because of that, that would be discrimination. Maternity, race, religion or belief, sex, sexual orientation. And these are what's called protected characteristics. And it's really important that you recognize that it's there really to safeguard and to make sure that people aren't discriminated against them at work, in education, using public services, buying or renting a property, even as a consumer or a member of a club or association. There are a few exceptions, which I don't want to go into today, but there are really important principles here that you need to recognize that these issues, that whether you agree or disagree with them, whether you have your own personal views about some of them, are things that companies must be very careful not to discriminate on. I suppose the reason why that's important.
Я на хвилиночку хотіла зауважити, що кожного разу, коли ми заповнюємо анкети, у тому числі реєстраційну форму нашу, там питається про your gender, your sex orientation, така в них це можливість перевірки, чи ми не дискримінуємо когось за якоюсь ознакою, щоб у нас були всі категорії, і тому не приймайте це особисто, просто має бути.
Якщо ви мене питаєте про колір моєї шкіри, значить вам не все одно, чи як?
Не все одно, щоб ваші права були дотримані.
Ну так не питайте мене, якщо ви всі рівні, значить неважливо, який колір шкіри, яка релігія. Навіщо в школі моїх дітей питають, яка твоя релігія? Ну навіщо?
Але там всюди є
Ви можете...
що я не хочу про це казати. І,
Так.
наприклад, я розумію, що далі я не буду щиро відповідати на всі ці запитання. Крім того, що я біла, я більше нічого не буду казати.
І ви маєте на це абсолютне право.
Не тому, що я боюся дискримінації з-за чогось. Я боюся дискримінації за те, що я така нормальна. Що в мене немає ніяких відхилень.
Добре. Дивіться, наступна сесія у нас буде з Юлією Сплавською, яка буде говорити якраз про права працівників і як ці особливості враховуються в правах і як вони захищають.
Як захищаються права працівників, це все працює дуже добре. Але для цього треба спочатку стати працівником. І якщо вони набирають, нам треба забезпечити, як у цій Україні в нас тільки рознарядка по інвалідах, а тут рознарядка по всіх.
Є.
Йдіть по цій категорії.
Так, вони вам дають шанс. Інклюзивне працевлаштування. Так.
Бо ви от попередній кадр, закон 2010, оце і є.
About some of them, are things that companies must be very careful not to discriminate on. Um, I suppose the reason why that's important is if you are looking to be employed by a company, it's really important before you go to an interview to look at their what's called equality and diversity policy. And it really demonstrates that the company is an equal opportunities employer. So really do think about this very, very carefully. If you're certainly going to work for a local authority or a large organization or a corporate, really, really important because these type of questions could come up in an interview. And if you fail them, you'll fail the interview. I mean, it's really seriously a red flag. So you might be asked this question, can you describe a time when you had to work with someone from a different cultural background and how you handled it? Now, if you haven't, because you may not have worked in a cultural background, that's okay, but you need to give an example of why you would welcome the opportunity or what you think the principles are, fairness and making sure that you listen and you accept and you celebrate the diversity. That question, what do you think are the benefits of having a diverse team in the workplace? How do you think companies can create a more inclusive environment for employees? So these are really important questions to think about, and we can help you and ask. We can help you if you ask us questions about this subject. Number 6, this is fascinating. You know, what would you do if you witnessed someone being treated unfairly because of their race, gender, or sexual orientation? We had this example recently in our workplace, not within Facework, but we were in another environment where we saw somebody being treated unfairly, and we had to complain. And I think it's really important that you address this and think carefully, how would you answer that question? Especially this last one, how do you stay educated on issues related to diversity and inclusion? And how do you incorporate this knowledge into your work? If you had an interview and that question came up next week, you could say, well, funny enough, last week I was on a training course run by Facework and we talked about the importance of diversity and inclusion in the workplace. We recognised the importance of the 2010 Equality Act and recognising about protected characteristics. I really understand that in the UK, those things are really very much enshrined in law, and it's really important that we don't discriminate. My father-in-law is in a wheelchair, so when I push him around, I recognise the issues that he has to face in terms of navigating a pavement. I can imagine how hard it must be in a workplace that hasn't adapted their spaces for wheelchair users. Do you know what I mean? I'm making that up at the moment, but these are the types of answers that you'd need to give if that question comes up. Because it isn't necessarily a soft skill to be able to know these things, but the way that you explain them, the way you understand them, the way that you're empathetic, the way that you recognize that diversity is really important, is so important. So looking at the legal rights within the workplace, and I hope that when the person who does that session comes, if there are further questions of what we've talked about today, partly because I'm not there in person tonight, you can ask them what those questions could be and maybe do some interview practice with Helena or some of our volunteers next week on how you would cover those questions and those issues. So there we are. I hope that tonight's session has been helpful. It's not the answers that enlightens, but the questions. So again, I'm copping out because I'm not with you, so I can't answer specific questions today. But in your feedback forms, which I know Helena will do through a QR code and you can update, give me some feedback, give me some questions, give me some thoughts that when I'm with you next week, we can talk about. You know, in summary, I suppose what I'm saying is, let's go back to the main first. What I'm saying is here that it's really important that yourself about growing and skills. Hard skills will get you the job, but soft skills will grow your career, and they are like superpowers. And they're also really relevant to young people. So if some of you have got children, maybe you can show them the STEPS cards or the STEPS booklet, give them to the school. I think lots of schools would love to use this as a resource, and we're talking about that to different publishers at the moment. We did a little section tonight. Well, I hope it was a long section because you had 20 minutes or 30 minutes to do the self-assessment personality, self-awareness test done by 16personalities.com. I hope that was helpful. Understanding yourself, understanding your character, understanding what you're good at, where that you can grow is really, really important. Then we looked a little bit about those team working skills. And again, take those worksheets home with you, fill them out. And next week, if you have any questions, bring them back and I'll spend good time with you talking about them. They're not easy, but I think they're things that can really make a difference. And then we finally honed in on the diversity worksheet, particularly looking at diversity in the workplace. So I hope that's been really helpful. Email address, I think, yes, Stephen@face.work. Ping me an email if you want to ask further questions. You can get further information about all our resources and our training programs and our soft skills booklet on face.work. It's been my pleasure talking to you tonight. I'm sorry I'm not there to wave goodbye to you, but I hope you found that helpful and look forward to seeing you next week. Keep on keeping on. It's a journey, not a destination. Everybody's job and everybody's life, you just have to take opportunities, try things out, find support from where you can get it, and together we will help you to face work.
Так, це в нас перша така сесія експериментальна. Дякую, що були з нами. Зараз на прохання Стівена я спробую знайти швидесенько, якщо в мене вийде. Так. Yeah. Отже, фідбек, будь ласка, напишіть. Ми намагалися за тих обставин, які склалися, зробити максимально інтерактивну сесію, якщо так можна сказати. Чи вдалося вам щось цінне для себе сьогодні отримати? Напишіть у цьому відгуку. Так, і на цьому будемо завершувати. Дякую всім, хто був з нами в Інстаграмі. 2,5 години. Ви були молодці. Дякую вам за вашу присутність. Ставте лайки, підписуйтесь і коментуйте. Ваші відгуки ми будемо читати в коментарях. Будемо дуже вдячні за поради і рекомендації. Па-па!